So you should see the MetroTex branding on this page. If it's your first time, again, you will be asked for your location because it will display the weather in your area. Pretty nice day we're having today. Now, your applications and services, this top section, this is where you'll access the apps that are available as part of your membership. Netris Matrix is the very first tile on there. We will log in here in just a minute, but let's look at the other sections. Over here on the right, membership dues. This is an integration with that account access portal. So your MetroTex account. If you have any balances due, like for your quarterly MLS dues or your key services or your board dues, you'll be able to see those here when they've been posted. And you can also click through to make your payments through that system as well. Let's scroll down a little more. On the left side, there's some additional Netris products and partners. Now, these are not necessarily accounts that are managed by MetroTex. For example, RPR, this is Realtors Property Resource. This is an NAR benefit. You can access RPR through this system, but you will need to create your account first. So make sure that you've created an account if you try using RPR. Again, don't forget, we have an RPR class next week in person from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. I believe it is on Thursday, so please join us for that. I'll be teaching that class. On the right, real estate news, a little integration with that complimentary subscription there. So just a nice news feed for you. And then at the bottom of the page on the left-hand side, this is very important, news and updates. Now, these are for any news and updates as they relate to the MLS. All right. So this is specifically for any features, any updates, any new memberships. For example, the Waco Association joined us recently, and you can see here there is a new Apply Now feature with Rental Beast that is now available to Netris subscribers. This just went live yesterday. All right. So if you're interested in learning more about that, check out that article there. Last section, then we'll log into Matrix, I promise. We have our personal links. Now, there's a lot of information on this page already, but if there's any other site that you access that you do not have through this portal, you can create your own custom link by clicking on these three dots on the top right-hand side. You can add a new link, you can edit, or you can delete. If you add a new link, it will give you the option not just to add the URL, but to also give it a custom display name and also an icon if you want to go that extra step. All right, that is just customizable for your own personal use. One last thing I'll show you in here, if you click on your initials on the top right-hand side, you can actually customize your profile by clicking on View Profile. All right. And I just want to point out here, because I know some people like to use dark mode. On your dashboard settings, you can switch to dark mode if you prefer to have everything in a darker setting. It's a little easier on the eyes there. All right. I'm going to switch it back on, so please guard your eyes. All right. Let's go back here. I'm just going to click on Home at the top of the page, and we're going to click on the Netris Matrix dashboard tile. Click on Netris Matrix. You should have single sign-on access through here. All right. Let me zoom in a little more on this one. So this is your Netris dashboard. All right. Your Matrix dashboard has a bunch of widgets. All these gray boxes that you see, these are your widgets. Each of these widgets, they have different functions and different purposes. And depending on the class you're taking, we will focus on different widgets each time. For today's class, we're just going to look at the basics on this. So with these widgets, you can customize the way that this layout displays here. So yours probably does not look like this, so don't panic. That is perfectly normal. These can be dragged and dropped to be rearranged. For example, if I take this Hot Sheets widget at the top, if I hover my mouse over the title of that widget, you see how it turns into a 4-pointed arrow, just like that. This is telling me that I can drag and drop this anywhere else on the page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to left click with my mouse. I'm going to hold it down. I'm not going to let it go. And this is going to allow me to drag it if I want to move it down one space. You see how I have that little gray outline? That gray outline is telling me if I release my mouse right now, that's where the widget will be placed. So I'm going to let go, and it'll place it right there. I can grab this Market Watch and do the same thing. Left click, drag it over, and release. All right. If I want them to just be in one single column, I can do that. It really just depends on your preference. What other functions do we have here? Again, if you hover over the title of the widgets, notice how on the right-hand side there is a little arrow. That arrow will allow you to collapse and expand the widgets. I'm going to collapse all of them. All right, just kind of gives it a little cleaner look. And then if you need to see the information, you can expand it and collapse it depending on what you need it for, right? What else can we do? That little X, don't be afraid to click on it. Nothing will be deleted. But if I click on the X, it's just going to remove it from my page. All right, I've removed all of them except for two. And that is your news and alerts and the additional widget. Let's look at the additional widget first because this one does have a collapse option. That is because all of the widgets, they live under here. All of the widgets are here. So you cannot delete the additional widget because all of your widgets will be housed there. But I can go ahead and drag out whatever I need. Let me get these external links. If you're following along, go ahead and bring the external links out. Let's drag that one out. I'm going to place it over here. And maybe we'll get a couple more. Let me grab the search widget with that little magnifying glass icon. So really up to you how you customize that section. The other widget that we have on here, the news and alerts on the top left-hand side, this cannot be collapsed, it cannot be removed, and it cannot be moved anywhere. This is permanently placed on the top left-hand side because if there are any news and alerts in this section, it is important that it's brought to your attention immediately. For example, if you're working a listing, and you have it saved in that incomplete status, it will be purged from the system after 30 days of no activity. Of course, we will never do that without warning you. If you are approaching day 30, you will have a notification in your news and alerts to let you know that you need to save it as incomplete again to reset that timer. So always keep a close eye on these news and alerts. All right, I don't see any new questions coming up, so I think it's safe for us to move on from here. We're going to go ahead and customize our branding for our header and footer, and we are going to set up our email signature. So how do we get there? On the top left-hand side, hover over My Matrix. Don't click on it, just hover over it with your mouse. You'll see this menu pop up here. And we're going to click on the very last option that says My Information down at the bottom. Click on My Information. This is where you'll be able to customize your profile. Before we set up the header and footer, take a look at the first tab, the Information tab. Remember earlier when I said you cannot change your contact information in here? Your name is grayed out, your email and phone number, your office, that is all grayed out. That's because that's coming from your MetroText account. So if this is incorrect, either contact Member Services or go to the Account Access portal. Now, there are a couple things you can add on here, like your team name. You can go ahead and click in there and type your team name. Let's say I am in the Super MLS team. And then for that phone number, you can do a temporary override of that number if you need to add it to a report or something that you're generating that just quickly needs to be updated immediately. You can click on this little checkbox on the right-hand side, and you will be able to edit that number. So I'm just going to change this to 2755. If anyone needs MLS support, this is the MLS support phone number. All right, so if you just want to review anything that we went over in class, if you need someone to guide you through a listing input, or you just want to sign up for classes, call that number. We're here to support you. You also have another line for an additional number, your cell phone number, direct office contact number. So if you've got an extension number you want to add. And then down at the bottom, you have a tagline and additional information section. So this is just for any extra marketing that you want to use it for. This is visible to other MLS subscribers. If you have a slogan or a hashtag or your Instagram handle, or even if you just want to market other services that you offer, other languages that you speak, you've got these other fields that you can add to. I'm going to go ahead and save my changes. Make sure to click on that save button if you made any changes in here. It's that blue button with that floppy disk icon. And take a look at the top. There's a yellow banner to confirm that our changes were saved. Let's move on to the header and footer, that next tab, header and footer. All right, so It's important to make sure your header and footer are set up because if you generate a quick CMA like we're going to do today, or if you print any listing information, that header is going to display on those reports. So this blue bar you see up here, this is going to be your preview. This is going to be the preview of what your header will look like. Little by little, we're going to be building all of these. So again, if you're following along, go ahead and start getting it set up. First thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the banner images. All right. Netris already has banner images built in. All you have to do to look at those images is click on this hyperlink here, the one with that gear icon. It says select a different banner image / theme. Click on that. It's going to take you to another page and just scroll through here and look at the options. All right. There are a lot of options for the background image that you can use on this banner. So take a look at these options, see which one you like the best. And once you find something that speaks to you or that represents your brand, go ahead and select it. You can either click on the image or you can click on this little radio selection icon here on the very far left-hand side. Either way, just click to select. Down at the bottom of the page, you're going to see a blue button with a magnifying glass icon. It says preview. That is going to take us back to the previous page where we had that little preview. So let's take a look there, click on preview. And here's the first step of creating our header. This next one here, you can add your headshot to your banner. Now, if you've already got it saved to your files on your device, go ahead and follow along with this. If you do not have it on your device, keep it selected on no photo, but come back to this later when you get that video recording and you can follow along with that later. For those of you who do have your photo on your device, click on Use Custom Photo. Obviously, that's not me, so let's go find my picture here. Let's click on Change Photo. And I'm just going to browse my files. Just click on Browse on the top right and go find your headshot. All right. Got my picture right there. Once you upload your photo, you can crop it to whatever specifications you need. And then down at the bottom, always make sure to save your changes. It's that floppy disk icon, that blue button at the bottom, click Save. All right, now it should display my image here. There we go. Now we've got 2 items on here. Now the most important part is adding our branding. That's the next section here. So this branding section, each of these drop-down menus that you see are going to have all of the information that was on the previous page we were looking at, that information tab. All right. Even the team name that we added and the phone number that we customized, all of this is available in the branding section. So now it's up to you to pick and choose how you'd like to display your branding on your header. You don't have to use every single line. You can just use the first 3 or just the first one. It's really up to you. So I'm just going to add, let's add my office information. I can add my phone number. I'm going to use every single row. Let's go with an email and the website. All right, all of those are going to be used. Now I have my header, and that is it. My header is done. It is ready to go. I see a question in the chat. Can the photo be a team logo? Absolutely. It can be a team logo. And let me show you something else. If you have a banner that your office has that has your specific branding, you can skip all of these steps and you can upload a custom banner image. As long as it's within the recommended dimensions, those are going to be right here, you can do that instead. So whichever one you prefer, but yes, any photo, it does not have to be a headshot. It can be a logo. Just keep in mind, it is going to be in that little circle. So if anything gets cut off, you might want to adjust the size. All right, let's scroll down. We are going to set up our footer next. The footer is going to be at the bottom. Now this one's optional. If you want to print footer, select yes. Otherwise, keep it on that no option. So let's select yes, I want to print footer. And this one's not going to be as detailed. It's just going to have basic branding information going from left to right. This line here, that is our preview. So let's add some information. I'm just going to go with contact details. Let's say we'll do my email again, and maybe I'll put in the phone number and the website. All right, pretty simple. It's just going to be at the bottom of the page. So it doesn't need to be super, super detailed or creative or visually appealing. All right, now that we have done that, let's go ahead and save our changes. Don't forget to save your changes, otherwise you will lose everything that we just did. All right, and we've got that confirmation at the top saying that we did save our changes. Okay, looks like everyone seems to be following along so far. So let's go on to the next one. That was our header and footer. If you're interested in checking out the CMA cover sheet, we cover that in our advanced matrix class. We take an entire hour in that class just focusing on CMAs. So check that out if you're interested in that. But let's go to the email signature. Because if you're going to be sending any listings out, any auto emails, anything at all through Matrix, your email signature is not integrated with this system. Now, if you have an email signature that you already use in Outlook or Gmail or any other email account, feel free to copy and paste it in here and just call it a day. That's fine. If you want to build it from scratch, go ahead and start entering your contact information. This bottom row here is your basic text functions. If you just need to bold or change the type of font, the size, or even the color. Let's see if we can change this color to something else. Let's go with we'll go with this blue color. All right, so you can customize it. Pretty basic. We all kind of know how those things work. But let's look at some of the other features on here. For example, I have Metro Text Association of Realtors on my signature. This word needs the registered trademark symbol, doesn't it? So if you were at Code of Ethics, you should know that from today. Let's go ahead and add that on here. Now, I just clicked right next to the S on Realtors. Make sure that your cursor is flashing where you want to place that special character or that symbol. So click right there next to the S. You see my cursor flashing in there. And then the tool we're going to use here is on the top row, all the way at the end on the far right, that omega symbol. Click on the omega and you'll get this pop up. All your special characters are in here. Now, I want to point out some of them are very, very small. So if you need to see it a little better, if you hover over a character, it will give you an enhanced version so you can see it more easily. So just take a look around, scan through until you find the one you're looking for. This is the one we're looking for here. It's almost in the exact center of that section. We're looking for that registered trademark symbol. Now, very simple, single click, and it will add it to your signature. So let's just click. And there it is. That's how it should display. Okay. What else can we do here? I know a lot of you need to link your IABS to your signature. Now, I cannot tell you how to create that link, but if you have the URL or the link already, I can show you how to add it to your signature. So let me go to my phone number and just add another line down below. I'm just going to hit the Enter key on my keyboard. Make sure your cursor is flashing where you want to place that URL. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go get a URL for this example. I'm going to use the MetroText website for this. Since I'm not a licensed agent, I don't have an IABS that I need to get signed. So I'm just going to grab the MetroText website, just copy, go back over to Matrix. And my cursor is still flashing right there. So I'm going to click on the chain link icon on the top row in the middle. That chain link icon right there. If you hover over it, it should say link. Click on that. And then you'll get this pop up here. Your URL, you will paste it right here on that URL box. It's the very last text box there. So just paste it in there. And then once you click out of that box, it's going to auto format this for you. If you just want to have the URL on there, you can click OK. But if you want to have a custom display text, click on that very first text box that says display text and write whatever you need to write in there. I'm just going to say, click here for MetroText. And we'll put an exclamation on there. We're excited about that. Let's click that green button that says OK, and now we'll see it on our signature. There we go. All right, everything is looking way too much of the same color. Let me switch this back to black so we can have some variety on there. One last thing I'll show you. If you added your headshot or your logo to your header and footer, that photo is now available for you to add to your signature. Let me say that again, because if you missed this, if you did not add your photo to your header and footer, you cannot do this step, all right? If you added it to your header and footer, go ahead and create another line under the link. Just hit that enter key one more time. And then next to the chain link icon, click on that little photo icon. It's the mountains and moon picture. Click on that. And then over here on the right, there's a button that says select image. This is only going to show you the images that you have already uploaded into Matrix through your header and footer. So click on select image. And then here you're going to see my photo that I uploaded. All right, so I'm just going to click on the photo, just a single click. There's my preview. Now, if I want to adjust the dimensions of the picture, I have my width and height over here. I can click in here and enter a different number. So if I want to do 125 instead of 100, that width and height are going to auto adjust with the same dimensions. Now, if I want to do different dimensions, let's say the width and height should be different, I need to click on this little padlock icon to adjust it to a different size. Let me change that to 150. All right, and that is looking like a mess. Let me switch that back to 100 on both. There we go. Much better. So once you're done adjusting your photo, go ahead and click OK with that green button there. And there we go. We have our photo and our entire signature set up here. All right, let's go ahead and save our changes down at the bottom. Click on that blue floppy disk icon one last time. And we're all set. Now, how do we get back to our dashboard? There's 3 ways that you can get there. I'm going to show you all 3. Now, one thing you'll notice in our MLS classes, some of the information we cover might be a bit repetitive. That's just because we want to show you every single option so that you can decide what works best for you. I see a question in the chat. How do you include the existing email signature? Existing email signature, I already set up some information in here before the class. If you hadn't set anything up, it would have just been blank, but you can go ahead and manually get that set up. If you have a signature on another email account, just copy and paste it in there and you can save it that way. All right, so how do we get to the dashboard? 3 options. You can either click on My Matrix up at the top of the page, click on My Matrix. That's option 1. Let me go back, show you option 2. You can hover over My Matrix. Don't click on My Matrix, hover over it, and click on Dashboard. That's option 2. Let's go back one more time. Let me show you option 3. My personal favorite, you can click on the little house icon right here that says Netris Matrix. Click on that house, and you're back at the dashboard or back to the home page. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to start looking at our search options. Now you might be tempted to use the search widget, but we're not going to use the search widget today. We're actually going to show you what we like to call our smart menu, and that is up at the top of the page. Next to My Matrix, hover over search. Hover over search. Don't click on it. Now, this is our smart menu, and we like to call it a smart menu because the first few options on your smart menu, they're going to change depending on the type of searches that you do the most frequently. So it's going to pick up your habits and it's going to suggest the detailed and quick searches of whatever property type you use the most. So if you use land or commercial, that detailed and quick is going to be for land or commercial. All right. Since I'm in the MLS department, all of these are going to be under the residential sale category because that's the majority of our inventory. For today's class, we're going to focus on residential quick. So hover over residential. You'll see anything with an arrow is going to give you a detailed and a quick option. Do not click on the detailed option. If you're following along and you click on detailed, you will not get the same results that I get because there's certain features that are already on there that won't be on the quick page. So make sure to select the quick page. Again, we're going to hover over search, hover over residential, and select quick. All right. Now, this is your search criteria page. If you want to search for listings, this is where you're going to go. Now, we're going to explore all of the sections here. Now, I'm sure some of you are wondering, why is Louisiana on here? That is because the Northwest Louisiana Association of Realtors is part of this MLS. When we get through this criteria, I'll show you how you can remove that and save it as a custom default to only be Texas if you're only licensed in Texas, okay? Let's get through these other sections first, and then I'll show you that feature. Starting on the top left, this is where you'll select your statuses. All of the statuses in Matrix are visible through this section. All right. If you want to select or unselect a status, just click on these little boxes. All right. As long as it has that check mark and is filled in blue, that means it is part of the criteria. If it is not selected, it's not part of your criteria. That is step number 1. Select your statuses. Over here to the right, you can select a status and narrow it down by a number of days or a specific set of dates. All right, that's days or dates. Really got to emphasis on that one. All right, so let me click on the active one here. Let me show you what I mean. If you want to do a set of dates or days, you can do a range. I would highly recommend doing that. So for example, you could say 0 to 30. So that's any active listings that went active within the last 30 days. All right, that's your day range, 0 to 30, meaning today up to 30 days in the past. That's one option. If you want to set dates instead, a start date and an end date, you can click on this little calendar icon and select a starting date and an ending date. So I can select maybe just Monday through Friday, click on the 5th, and then click on the 9th for your end date. It's going to highlight the entire week, and then just click OK to get it added to your statuses. It's going to auto format it for you. All right, if you prefer to type it in, make sure you have the 2-digit month, 2-digit day, and 4-digit year for the starting and ending dates. Those are your statuses. Next up, we have our subproperty type. Now, anytime you see a box like this, it's going to work the same way. It's a single click to make a selection. So let's say I'm looking for single family residence. I'm just going to do a single click. It's going to be highlighted in blue. If I want to make more than one selection on my keyboard, I'm going to select the control key. Just press the control key if you're using a PC. If you're using a Mac, it's going to be the command key, but you're going to hold it down and click to make an additional selection. If you selected something by mistake and you don't want to lose the current selections, use the control key or the command key again and click on it again to remove it from your selection. Any box like this works the same way. Keep an eye on these options at the bottom. You have an or and you have a not option. So or is going to include anything you selected. Not is going to exclude anything you've selected. So it's always going to default to or. So just keep an eye on that. Now at the bottom of the page, I want to point out it does show here 3,607 matches. Do we all see that in there? That's telling me, based on everything I've selected so far, that's how many properties match my currently selected criteria. So always keep an eye on your matches. If you have 0 matches, it's probably going to be because you have too much criteria. We need to narrow things down a little bit. If you have too many matches, maybe we need to get more specific. Now let's talk about the middle section. This middle section is all about your location. All right, we're just going to focus on these 4 sections over here. We'll look at the subdivision a little bit later. These top 2, those are covered more in our advanced matrix class, but we will look at the map at the end. Now, when it comes to adding a state or a county or a city, all you have to do is click into that box. I'm going to click on the city here and start typing the name of a city. It's going to try to predict what you're looking for and filter out your options to what's closest going to match what you have so far. Let me do DAL for Dallas. And notice how anything with DAL, no matter where it is, Evadale, Hidalgo, it all has DAL. It's going to bring that up on my list. As I continue typing, it will start to narrow it down even more. And now I can just click on what I need and add it to my selection. You can do multiple cities, multiple counties. I am not aware of any limitation. So if you do find out what the maximum is, do let me know. I challenge you to find that out. All right, if you have something that you added by mistake, just click on the X to remove it. If you're going to use the zip codes here, you can search multiple zip codes, just separate them with a comma. For example, let me do 75063, comma, 75019, comma, and you can add a space. All right, let me remove Dallas from here. And I want to point out here, the zip code is going to override any cities or counties that you put in there. The zip code will take priority. Next, let's look at the section on the right. This is going to be specifics about the property itself. So the property that we're looking for. Starting off at the very top, let's talk about the price. You see how we've got these 3 zeros in parentheses and that blue check mark? I guess it's a white check mark with a blue background. This is telling the system that as long as this is checked, go ahead and assume any price I enter into here is in the thousands, all right? So you don't have to worry about typing all those zeros every single time. You can leave that checked and just type the beginning part of that number. Now, listen to me when I say this. Any field on your search criteria that takes a number is going to work the same way as the price, okay? So let me show you what I mean. If I'm looking for a minimum price, let's say I'm looking for a minimum price of $500,000. I'm going to type 500, and then I'm going to add a plus, meaning my minimum is 500,000, but I'm looking for anything 500,000 or higher. All right. If I'm looking for a maximum, it's going to be the same idea, just with a minus. Let's say we're looking for anything 800,000 or lower. I'm going to say 800 minus. All right, are we following? We get the picture here. Last but not least, you can do a range of prices, so a minimum and a maximum, and just separate it with that little dash, 500 dash 800. That's saying I'm looking for anything between $500,000 and $800,000. Now, we would recommend always use a minus or a plus or a minimum and maximum for this if it's a number field. All right. If you do an exact number, Matrix is very literal. It's going to look for the exact list price to be exactly $500,000. And we know that's not going to be the easiest way to find results. Now, if I were to go to the bedrooms, like I said, any field that takes a number works the same way. So I could do 2 minus, as in a maximum of 2 bedrooms. I can do 2 plus, so minimum of 2 bedrooms. Or I can do 2-4, saying 2 to 4 bedrooms. You can do that for the year built. Maybe I'm looking for anything 1990 plus, or maybe 1990 through 2010. All right, any field that takes a number works the same way. All right, although my criteria right now is giving me 0 matches, let me go ahead and reset the page. I'm going to go to the top, and I'm going to hover over search and get used to this process. We're going to do this at least 6 more times. Residential quick, everyone, residential quick, and my page reset. Let me show you how to create a custom default. If you don't work in Louisiana and you want to remove that from your search, go ahead and click on that X to remove it. All right. Let's say if you work in a certain area or a certain county or certain zip code, you can add that information to your page as well. And you can have that preloaded as your default. So every time you come to the residential quick page, it's going to have your specific criteria depending on the areas that you serve. All right. Now, we're just going to leave it like this for now. But if I want to make this my new custom default, I'm going to go to the top right-hand side. Right here where it says results, there's that little wheel or gear icon. Click on that gear icon and click on the first link here. It says set currently selected search criteria as my starting default, meaning every time I come to residential quick, it will look exactly like this. Again, that's clicking on that gear icon on the top right-hand side, right under the word results. Click on the gear icon and then set currently selected search criteria as my starting default. Now, if I go back to my dashboard, anytime I come back to residential quick, it's going to look like that. So let's go residential quick, hover over residential, click on quick, and look at that. Only Texas is in there. All right. Let's go ahead and do a search. So for those of you following along, use the same criteria that I am putting in here so that you get the same results, because I want to make sure that you see what I see so that you can follow along properly. Starting over here on the left-hand side, we're going to select all the active statuses. They're already selected. And I'm going to go ahead and add coming soon. Why not? Under the sub property type, we're going to select single family residence, just one, just single family residence. And then let's go over to Dallas County. All right, we still have 5,000 plus matches. So let's narrow it down. Let's do a price range. Let's do a big one here. Let's do 2 million. So we're going to type 2,000 in here because it's going to assume the zeros for me to 3,000, 2 million to 3 million. All right, because we have the zeros in there. 166 matches. Now, how do I look at my results? I have two options here. On the top right-hand side, I can click on that tab for my results, or on the bottom left, that blue button. It really just is a matter of what's closer to your mouse at the time. So let's click on results. All right, now everyone should be on the results view. Let me scroll down just a little bit here. Now let's look over here. We have over 100 results, and it does show me I'm looking at 1 through 25 out of 166 results. I can expand this to be up to 100 results per page, and that is available on the right side. You'll see the display here. It says agent single line. That's the name of the display that we're looking at. And right next to it, it says 25. I'm going to expand that to 100. There we go. All right, we've got 100 results on here. Now, the next thing we're going to look at here is we are going to explore the different columns on this section. We're going to start, we'll go as far as we can until it hits 3 o'clock, then we'll take a 5-minute break and come back to finish up the rest. But starting off with this very first column, you see all these little check boxes here. If you need to take any action on a listing, for example, if you want to print, if you want to email, if you want to make a CMA, you need to select at least one listing. Click on that little box. The entire row will be highlighted in blue there. And at the bottom of the page, there is a blue bar. Let me scroll. Actually, I won't scroll all the way to the bottom, but you'll see it. It's always there. That blue bar at the bottom where it says actions, these are all the actions you can take with that individual listing. All right, you have to click at least one listing to have your actions. All right, with the exception of the stats, because you don't generally need any listings for that. If you're interested in those stats, take a look at our advanced matrix class. We cover in that class as well. Next up, you've got your number. This is just going to be so you can easily identify these listings in order of display. And then we have our icons. Starting with the first icon, this is going to be where you can view the photos on that listing. All right, so without going into that full listing view, you can click on that icon and you'll be able to see the pictures just like that. And you can scroll through the photos. You've got arrows on the left and right hand side, and you can go through all the photos on that listing. Let's click on that X on the top right. Next one, it says MP. This is going to be the map. The map is going to show us where the property is located. It's an integration with Google Maps. So that's our subject property here. You can hover over it to see the list price and the bedrooms and bathrooms. You also have the option to switch to the Google Street View on the top left-hand side. All right, looks like this one is from the alley. Thank you, Google. All right, I'm sure you can navigate your way to the front of the property, but you can switch back to the map. You can probably use this guy right here to get that Google Street View as well. All right, so that is our map. Next up, we have HS. It's that clock icon. This is going to show us the history, not just of the listing, but of the address. Oh, we picked a good one. It's got a lot of history here. So you'll be able to see any previous listings, no matter what the property type was. If it was a lease listing, if it was a land listing, and then they built something over it, you'll be able to see that history. Looks like this one goes as far back as 2002. So you can see the change over time. That is the history you have access to from here. I'm going to close out of this tab, back to Matrix. That's HS. I'm not going to click on this next icon here, but TD is for Transaction Desk. The name of that system is Instanet Transaction Desk. If you are representing a buyer and you want to make an offer on a listing, you can click on this little green fan or I don't know, sunburst icon, and it will take you to Transaction Desk, and it's going to import the listing data, not just the listing data, any documents on the listing agent, and list office information. All of that will automatically be brought into your transaction so that it's easier for you to fill out your forms and get that offer signed. All right. If you're interested in that, we go over that exact example in our Intro to Instanet class. This next one, I'm not going to click on it either, but guess what this one is telling us? TX. What does TX stand for? It does not stand for Texas in this instance. It actually stands for taxes. If you click on this, again, I'm not going to click on it because I don't want to get out of Matrix, but this will take us to our Realist Tax platform so that you can see the public record information, the property tax information for this property in Realist Tax. All right, that is TX. Next up, we have OH. OH is going to be for open houses. Anything with an existing open house on the schedule will have this open door icon. You can see that one there. Click on the icon to see the upcoming open houses. It is going to display any open houses that the agent has scheduled. So it has something on the 9th, the 10th, and the 11th. You'll be able to see the time as well. They've got different times here, and also the office that is hosting that open house. That is OH. Let's close out of this. All right. We've got a couple seconds before our break. Let's see if we can get through the next one, and then we'll take our break. I'm going to skip over these MLS numbers because that's just going to identify the listing and take us into the full view. We'll do that next. But let's look at the flags. There are 3 flags that you'll see on a listing, and those flags stay on the listing for 5 days. It's just meant to indicate recent changes to that listing. The first flag, let's see what we have here. It's that $sign. That is indicating a price change. Now, we don't know if it's going up or if it's going down. We'll have to go into the listing or the history to see what that change was, but there was some type of change to the price within the last 5 days. The next one we have is the letter N. That is N for new. That means this is a brand new listing that just hit the market within the last 5 days. And the last flag you'll see, let's see if we can find one in here. The letter B. The letter B is telling us that this listing is back on market, meaning it might have been on hold, it might have expired, but it is active again. And it was reactivated again within the last 5 days. Those are your 3 flags, your $sign for price changes, N for new, and B for back on market, indicating those changes took place within the last 5 days. All right, it is 3:01. Let's go ahead and take a 5-minute break. Go stretch your legs, get some water, go to the restroom. Let's come back at 3:06. All right, everybody, and we'll continue where we left off, so don't navigate away from this page. All right, everyone. I hope that 5 minutes was enough. We're going to pick it back up where we left off. So before the break, we were exploring the agent single line view, just kind of getting familiar with the different columns that are over here. We also took a preview of the MetroText website. We looked at our Netris dashboard. We set up our header and footer, our email signature, and got familiar with the search criteria page. When we looked at that search criteria page, we made some customizations there, right? And we set it as a default. You can customize your results page too. For example, if you want to add a column here, we looked at Dallas County. Well, there are tons of cities in Dallas, and we don't see the cities on the agent single line view, right? You can see the address, You can see the subdivision, but there is no way to know what the city is without going into the listing. So I'm going to add a column here for the city. What I'm going to do, just like with our widgets, I'm going to hover over the title of the columns. Now, I would recommend use the address or the subdivision because you need to see that 4-pointed arrow. If you hover over just the name, it's going to let you click on the name, but we need to see the 4-pointed arrow. So click onto that gray area, just a single click. When you do that single click, you're going to get this little menu down below. You can adjust the width of your columns, the alignment. You can even do text wrapping. But what I want you to see here is that you can insert columns. All right, click on Insert Column. When you click on Insert Column, you're going to see this list here. Now, this list goes on and on and on and on and on. I'm not going to go over every single item on this list, but if you know what it is you're looking for, you have a keyword search down here below. So click on that search and just type the word city. Let's see what options we have for the city. So type C-I-T-Y. Notice how it filters out our options. We can either add a city or a city, state, and zip code. Once you know what you'd like to use, I'm going to go with the city, state, zip. Click on it. Make sure it's highlighted in that nice, beautiful blue color, and then click Apply, that blue button on the bottom right-hand side of that window. Once you click Apply, it's going to add the column to your page. And there it is. All right. Now we can see what the cities are for each of these properties. We've got some Dallas, some Richardson, Highland Park, University Park. We would not have known had we not added this column. Now, if I want to make this a default setting, on the top right-hand side, underneath where it says results, you do have the option to change the default for this display, the agent single line display. But if I click on this little drop-down menu that says agent single line, you have a ton of different displays. You can create multiple different custom displays. So let me show you that instead. If you want to create a custom display, instead of clicking on this gear icon, click on this little pencil and paper icon. It says Manage Display when you hover over it. Click on that icon. You'll get this tiny little window here, and you can give it a custom name. So I'm going to delete the agent single line, and I'm just going to do exactly what I changed. I'm going to say City, State, Zip. And then here, I'm going to click Save as a Copy, meaning my agent single line default is going to remain unchanged, but I have a copy that includes the city, state, and zip anytime I need it. Now that I made that change, I see this yellow banner to confirm the change. And now over here, the display says My City, State, Zip. If I want to go back to my agent single line display, I can always click on this hyperlink here. Or I can use the drop-down menu and select Agent Single Line. If I click on Agent Single Line, what do you think is going to happen? Is that column going to disappear? It's still there. As long as you stay logged in, any columns that you add to your results will stay there. But if you log out and you come back, it will disappear and go back to the default. All right, so Matrix does keep your changes there temporarily, but once you're in a new session, you will lose that column and you'll just need to add it back in or switch to your custom display. Your custom display is always going to say My and then the name that you gave it, and it'll always be at the top of the list. Everybody following so far? I don't see any new questions. I think that means we're okay to move on. So let's go ahead. We're going to hover over search and we're going to select residential quick. Just reset that search to a new page. And look at that. Our default is still defaulting. Let's talk about adding criteria. I know we have a lot of criteria on here, and this is always really great to start with, but sometimes we need more search fields. Anything that is available to input into a listing is available to be used as a search field. So let's see how we do that. We're going to look for some foreclosure properties. Scroll down to the bottom of your page. Very, very, very bottom, as far as it'll go. Underneath the number of matches, your map, and your results here, there is a section on this gray bar that says additional fields. Everybody see that? Additional fields. And it has this blue hyperlink that says add. Go ahead and click on add. just like the columns, you have a list of fields that you can add to your search. And this, again, it is a huge list. So I do recommend exploring this when you have some free time. I know what it is that we're looking for right now. So we're going to use the search and go ahead and just type the word special. S-P-E-C-I-A-L, special. I typed special and it gave me 3 options. I have special listing conditions, special notes, and special taxing entities. We're looking for special listing conditions. Now go ahead and click on it to select it under this available field section. And before I do this next step, I do want to let you know, if you did not go to the residential quick search, if you're on the residential detailed search, you will get an error when you try to do this next step. So make sure you're on residential quick if you're following along. Now with special listing conditions selected, we're going to click add over here in the middle. Click add. And now under the selected fields, we see special listing conditions. If you don't see it just yet, do that again. Click on special listing conditions, click add, and you should see it here. If you're getting an error message that says it's already on your page, that means you are on the residential detailed page. That's the little trick there. The residential detailed page already has the fields we're adding. All right, so that's why we're coming here, so you can see how you can do it and all of the options that you have that you can add to your search. When you're ready to go to the criteria page again, click on that back button at the bottom of the page with that yellow arrow. The reason we do this is if you entered a ton of search criteria and then you added this field, if you use the back button in your browser, you might lose all of that criteria, all right? You run the risk of losing it, so let's go the safe route. Click on that back button on the bottom. We did not enter any criteria, so there was nothing for us to lose, but I just want to make sure everyone knows about that. Now let's enter our criteria. As a reminder, if you're following along, make sure you select the same criteria so that you get the same results. We're going to go with just the active and coming soon properties, uncheck those other active statuses. This time for the location, let's go to Tarrant County. T-A-R-R. There we go, Tarrant County. And we're just going to add a price of $250 plus. $250 plus. That's $250,000 or higher. That's our minimum price. Now let's go find the special listing conditions that we just added to our page. Now, when you add search criteria to page, it's not going to show anywhere over here. It's going to be below the additional field section. It'll always be below. Even you can add multiple. I'm not aware of a limit to how many you can add. They will always display below that section. Now we know how these selection boxes work. For this example, we're going to select 3 options. We're going to select real estate bank owned, single click to select, and we're going to select in foreclosure and notice of default. Remember, for selecting multiple, click on the control key or command key on your keyboard at the same time while you make those selections. Again, we have real estate, bank owned, in foreclosure, notice of default. Make sure you have the or option selected. And look, this one has 3 options. It has and, or, not. Make sure or is selected. We have 29 matches here. So let's go to those results. Now on the results, again, we still have the city, state, and zip on here because we have not logged out of Matrix yet. But we selected 3 special listing conditions, so it might be helpful if we add a column to tell us which of the 3 apply for which property. For this one, I am going to hover over the city, state, zip. Remember, click on that gray space if you have that 4-pointed arrow, single click, and then select Insert Column. And we're going to look for special listing conditions again. So go to that search at the bottom, type special, and then select special listing conditions. And click apply, that blue button on the bottom right there. Now we can see which one applies to which property. All right, that's just some basics there. If you want to create a copy, you can create a copy. I'm just going to go ahead and select this first listing. On my list, it's 7501 Lola Drive. And I'm going to click on that MLS number. Everyone see that MLS column? If you want to look at the full display for that listing, click on the MLS number. And we're just going to take a look at the top section here. We're going to explore the rest of this page with the next example. But up at the top, you do have your selection boxes here. So if you want to take action with this listing from this view, you can select it by clicking on that checkbox. And the whole page will be highlighted in blue as well. But I do want us to look at just at the tabs across the top here. All right, very first one is the listing view. So just the details about the listing, your property description, your rooms, all of that is going to be the listing view. We'll look at this with the next example. Let's click on the tax tab. All right, the tax tab is importing the information from Realist Tax. So Realist Tax and Matrix, they do talk to each other. We can see owner information, location information, tons of details here. All right, pretty extensive information that we've got access to on the tax tab. We also have a photos tab. If you just want to see all the photos displayed on one page, click on the photos tab. All right, so we've got our photos here for that property. After that, you have your history. Now, this history is going to be a bit more detailed. It is going to show you the history of the listing. So we've got 2025, the existing listing. We have a listing from 2018, but we also have sale history from public record. We have mortgage history, and these were foreclosure properties, so we do have the foreclosure history in here. That's the history tab. Let's look at the parcel map. Parcel map gives you three maps. You've got your satellite view on the left, top left. You've got the map showing the approximate dimensions for the parcel it's allotted for this property. And then down at the bottom, you have your main general Google Maps version. Just that basic map option. Next up, we have our flood map. The flood map is provided by FEMA. This is updated every 24 hours. You will have the flood map down here. Your legend is at the bottom. If you just want to quickly determine, is it in or out of a flood zone, top right-hand side, it'll just say in or it'll say out. This one is out of a flood zone. Very last one here, foreclosure. If it is an actual foreclosure property, there will be information here. If it's not an actual foreclosure listing, it'll be gray just like this supplements page. All right, but you do have the foreclosure summary in here. Now, this foreclosure history section, it does have an error, but don't forget, the foreclosure history was in the history tab. So you do have the information, it's just not on that page. The supplements here, I did mention earlier that the Waco Association joined our MLS recently. The supplements are just for those Waco listings. We have a place in Instanet where we display all of our existing documents. They have their documents on that supplements tab. All right, so if you come across any of those and that tab is available, you'll know it was one of those Waco listings. Let me click on the listing tab, and I want to show you, how does Matrix know the foreclosure status on this listing? Scroll down to the bottom of the page, all the way to the bottom, very, very, very bottom. The seller type is what matches the special listing conditions. And right here it says real estate bank owned. That is the criteria that we added to the search that helped us to add this to our results. All right, everybody understand that so far? We're going to do a couple more examples similar to this with adding criteria to the page. So let's scroll up to the top of the page, and we're going to start a new search by hovering over search and selecting residential quick. All right, back on a new search. Now, I know there are a lot of search fields in the MLS, and usually that is going to give you everything that you need or everything that you're looking for. But sometimes, on rare occasions, we have a client that's looking for something so specific that there is no search field for it. All right. We're going to learn how to search the property description next. Now, the property description, that is written by a human being. The listing agent is using their creativity to create that property description, and we're going to do a keyword search to see if they happen to mention this specific feature, okay? So how do we add that search field to the page? Let's go down to the bottom of the page. Remember, just like special listing conditions, we're going to go to additional fields, add/remove. It now says add/remove because we have something that we can remove. We'll keep it on there though. Under the search, go ahead and type property description. Property, let's see. All right, just need property and then DE. That was enough to filter our options. Click on property description under the available fields section. And then select add in the middle. Once you click add, you should see the property description under your selected fields section. All right, again, if you don't see that, follow those steps again. Property description on the left side, add, and you'll see it over here. Now that we have two options, you can actually rearrange the way that they're displayed. As long as you have the one you want selected, you can move it up or down. So I'm going to move it up by 1 space. And when I go to my criteria page, it should show the property description above the special listing conditions. Let's hope that worked. Let's click on that back button with that yellow arrow on the bottom left. All right, and I'm going to scroll down just to make sure that it added my property description, and there it is. Let's add our other criteria first, then we'll talk about how this one works because it's a little bit tricky. We're going to select active and coming soon only, so let's uncheck the other active statuses. All right. After that, let's go ahead and add single family residence as the sub property type, single family residence. It's just the majority of our inventory is going to be on those categories. In this middle section, we'll go over to the city. We'll do City of Dallas this time. City of Dallas. And how about a price of 600,000 plus? Let's do 600 plus. So we should have active and coming soon selected, single family residence, City of Dallas, and the price 600 plus. All right, how many matches do we have? We've got about 1,300 matches. However, my client is looking for something very specific. They are looking for a koi pond. A koi pond, all right? How do we find a koi pond? Well, let's use that property description. Scroll down to the bottom of the page, click on property description. Now let's talk about this here. If I just type koi pond, let's see what happens. Koi pond, 0 matches. Now, do we think that's because there are no properties that match the criteria? Think again. Let me delete koi pond and talk about how this works. Now, when you enter text into the property description, we're telling Matrix this needs to be the first word of that property description. And that's why there were 0 results, because there's no listing agent that is going to start their property description by saying koi pond, right? They're going to say lovely home nestled in this wonderful neighborhood. They're going to have a little introductory line in there. So the koi pond is going to be mentioned somewhere in that paragraph, but we don't know exactly where. So how do we tell the system to look anywhere in that paragraph? We like to call this our wildcard search. So how that works is we're going to add an asterisk before and after the keyword or phrase that we're looking for. So add an asterisk. It's going to be on your keyboard. It's Shift and the number 8, that little tiny star. And now we can type koi pond. That's KOI space POND, koi pond. Add another asterisk at the end. And we have 7 matches. Now, the reason we add an asterisk before and after is because we're telling Matrix with the asterisk, I don't know what word comes before koi pond, and I don't know what word comes after koi pond, but somewhere in there, koi pond has to be mentioned. And with that, we have 7 matches. All right. So if you're looking for a diamond in the rough, use that wildcard search. Let's go look at those results, and then we're going to explore the full listing display, all the sections of that listing display. So here are all the properties. I have too many columns on here. I'm going to go ahead and delete the special listing conditions because I'm done with that example. Again, hover over it with the mouse, 4-pointed arrow, single click, and remove the column. All right, now all the information fits on here. Let's take a look at the, let's see, should we look at the first listing? It's a new one. Let's see what that looks like. Click on that MLS number, very first one, 9849 County Cork Drive. Let's look at that. All right, so we're going to get to the property description, but let's make our way down there by exploring all the other sections here. So very top section, you've got your icons. For the most part, we know what these icons are for. So I won't spend too much time on these, but I will point out this little icon here is not on the agent single line view. If you want to see any existing documents like your seller's disclosure, any addendums that have been signed, the listing agent can upload those documents to the listing and you can view them through that icon, that stack of papers. If you want to use the transaction desk icon to make an offer, it's going to be this one here. It still has that little green sunburst or fan. This next section here, it obviously has our MLS number. It has that flag indicating that this is a new listing from within the last 5 days. And we can see it's in the active status. Because remember, we selected 2 statuses for our criteria, so it's good to know which is which. This link here on the address will give you another pop-up with the map display. Let me close out of this. And then over here on the right, you'll be able to see the list price and the original list price. All right, so if there have been any price changes and you want to know what the original price was, the OLP, original list price, will always remain the same. The list price is what's going to change. So you can see what the history was. This is a brand new listing from today, so we'll see, we won't see any changes there yet. Now, this section here is going to be more focused on the location, what's the subdivision, the county, the country. There are international properties in here as well. This parcel number, if you're going to add any listings to the MLS, this is the number that we're using for that data accuracy. This is what we're going to use with our system to make sure that the information is correct based on the tax record. As long as Realist Tax has the matching information, you won't hear from us. But if what you entered into your listing does not match Realist Tax, that is when you will receive a violation notice. All right, so please don't disregard those emails. We do need to make sure these listings are compliant. Over here on the top left, you do have a smaller display of photos. You can go through those with the arrows. And then we just have a general breakdown, number of bedrooms and bathrooms, how many half baths, how many full baths. We have the square footage and the source, the year built and the source, any HOA information. Those details can be found here. Next up, you have your school information. It is required that you have 1 elementary school, 1 middle school, and 1 high school. If you're not sure what the schools should be, always check with the school district. All right. The school district, they usually have some search features where you can use to confirm based on the address. All right. The school district is your best resource for that information. Next up, you have your rooms information. Now, if you're adding listings to MLS, the requirement, if it's not a studio or a loft where everything is all one room, you are required to provide details about the rooms for, at minimum, 1 primary bedroom and 1 living area. All right, so we've got the bedroom primary and the living room. If they only included those, they would have satisfied the requirement for their listing to go live. But I would always recommend add as much detail as possible, because if you add a lot of detail, that's going to expose your listing to even more people that might potentially have a buyer for you. Next, we have general information. So information like the housing type, style of house, heating and cooling information, very important out here in Texas, right? What type of fireplace, what's the flooring materials, construction materials, the foundation. After your general information, you have your features. Very important one with this one, if you mention any features. One moment. Sorry about that, guys. I need to get some water. Lots of talking today. The features here, make sure if you mention any features that it's actually going to stay with the property and that seller is not going to take it when they move out, because who is liable for any incorrect information on that listing? The listing agent. All right, so just be careful with that one. Make sure this information is accurate. Now we finally made it to the remarks section. So where do they mention the koi pond? I'm gonna use my Control F over here and type koi pond and see where they mention it here. All right, so it looks like it's right here. Huge lot over 1/4 of an acre with room to expand and make a giant master suite if you prefer, or put in a swimming pool or koi pond. Interesting. So it looks like this is more options that you have. I'm not sure if this one actually has a koi pond. So this might not work with our example here, but it did mention that a koi pond could be added to the property. Let's come back and look at the next listing here when we finish through that section, but I do want to see if we have one that actually has a koi pond. All right, let's keep on looking though. Next, we have financial information. All right, so this is where you'll see the loan type or any lender information, seller concessions. It'll just be a yes, no. Agent/office information, you'll see the list date. This expiration date usually is only visible because I'm staff. You will be able to see days on market. You'll see the agent information, the list office information if you need to get in contact with them. And then finally, showing information. That is where we had our seller type, but this is also all the showing instructions, all the information if you want to show this listing. Always make sure you know where to find the showing instructions. All right, showing instructions. If they were written in here, that is because they are important. Always make sure we're respecting the privacy and the time of that homeowner, okay? Now, let me go to the next page. I want to see the next listing just to see if it mentions that it has a koi pond, because that is what we're looking for our buyer. Let's see here. There we go. This home features a serene backyard oasis complete with a large covered patio, koi pond, and built-in misting system. Perfect for relaxing in privacy and comfort. That's what we're looking for there. So this one does have a koi pond. So now I can take this listing and I can send this to my client, say, hey, I think this might be a good option for you. I don't know about you, but I want to see evidence. If they included that koi pond, I want to see if it's on there. Let me click on the photos here just for my own curiosity. Just because they mentioned it in the description doesn't mean they have to include a photo, but I already see it on here. Let's take a look at that koi pond. There it is. And it looks like there's koi fish in there. I wonder if the fish are included. All right, lovely little backyard oasis. That is our wildcard search, all right? I hope that that has been valuable for you. Let's go ahead and move on. I'm gonna click on the listing tab again, because if I go into another listing and I leave off on the photos tab, it's gonna take me back to the photos of any listing I look at. So I'm gonna click on listing, just so that I'm always on the listing view whenever I look at any properties. We're gonna do another search. I know, big surprise. Let's hover over search, and you guessed it, we're going to go to residential quick. Reset that page. We're going to add one more additional field to this search page. So scroll down to the bottom of the page, all the way to the end. Click on Add/Remove under the additional fields. And this time we're going to be looking for rooms search. So under the search here, type rooms, ROOMS, and we have rooms search. Make sure it's rooms plural. Click on rooms search, and then in the middle, click on add. At this point, you guys are pros on how to add the fields to your search. Now we've got our room search down here. We're going to go ahead and leave it in that order. And then at the bottom, click on that back button with that yellow arrow. All right, so the reason we're adding the rooms search is because you can look for specific types of rooms using that search. So if you have someone looking for 2 primary bedrooms, use the room search. If you're looking for the primary bedroom to be on a different floor from the other bedrooms, use the rooms search. All right, let's add some criteria in here before we get to the room search. We're going to do, again, active and coming soon, uncheck the other active statuses. We're going to select single family residence. And since this is a rooms search, I want to make sure I have a house with a lot of rooms. We're going to do 6+ bedrooms, 6+ for the bedrooms, total bedrooms. All right. How's our criteria looking, or our matches? We've got 674 matches. So let's go down to the rooms search. Let's see if we can narrow it down even more. This is your rooms search. All right. From here, you have all these different categories that you can add. I would recommend add one room type, look at your matches. If you need to narrow it down more, add some features, look at your matches, and then keep going. So let's start with the room type. We only need to do one row. We're not going to add multiple rooms today, but click on that drop-down menu for the room type. And look at all of this information here. So you've got basement, you've got full and half baths, you've got the bedroom primary and bedroom second primary. What else? We've got exercise room, we have game room, great room, guest suite, even a library. All right, tons of options on here. For today, we are going to look for a wine cellar. Let's go with that. Look for a wine cellar all the way at the bottom, right before workshop. Wine cellar, how do our matches look? We have 40 matches. Let's keep on testing the limits here. Let's go to the room features. Now that we selected the wine cellar, the room type, it's going to give us the available features. Look at all of these. Let's try built-in cabinets. If we're looking for a wine cellar, it should have built-in cabinets. All right, built-in cabinets, 27 matches. Should we take it a step further? Let's say what level we want it to be on. The level is what floor we want it to be on. So let's see. You can go up to 9 floors, and you can even include a basement. Now, I know we don't have a lot of basements in Texas, but there are some basements out there. So we're going to push the limits here. We're going to look for a wine cellar with built-in cabinets in a basement. And look at that. We have 10 matches. 10 matches have a wine cellar in the basement with built-in cabinets that have over 6 bedrooms, single family residence in the active and coming soon status. Now, the big reason we got 10 matches is because we looked in the entire state of Texas, all right? If we added a city, I think we might have limited ourselves with that one. So let's go ahead and take what we've got. Let's look at those results. All right, and here are the properties. And I think we're going to take a look at that very last one here. The nice $27 million listing. Let's take a look at that one on Lenox Lane. Click on that MLS number. 27 million, that seems reasonable. All right, so the room search. Just like the other criteria, it's looking for this information to be on the listing. So let's scroll down to that rooms section, not this one that just has the number of rooms, but look at that. How many total baths? 12 with 6 bedrooms, 8 full baths, 4 half baths. Wow. Let's keep on scrolling to the rooms. Here are the rooms, and look at the level of detail on this. We could have looked for a library, a game room, a solarium. All of these would have come up in our results. All right, but we looked for the wine cellar, and that's going to be down here, wine cellar. If we added dimensions that were within 16 by 23, we could have also gotten this as one of our results in the basement with built-in cabinets. This is why this came up as part of our results. And this is why I recommend that you add as much detail as possible, because you don't know what someone is looking for. All right. We want to make sure that your listings are getting found. And I don't know about you, but I definitely want to see this wine cellar. So let's go up to those photos and see if there's evidence of that wine cellar in the basement. All right, let's see here. And there it is. Let me click on that picture to expand it. And here is our wine cellar. Definitely has built-in cabinets. I'm curious if the wine is included. If it is, you're all invited to my wine tasting when I move into my house. All right. Just kidding. Let me exit out of this and let's get set up for our very last couple searches here. I'm going to go back to the dashboard. We are going to do more searches on residential quick, but we're going to shift gears. Instead of searching for listings for potential buyers that we're working with, we're going to start looking for comparable properties for a CMA. We're going to do that quick CMA. Now, I want to make sure everyone knows, just as a friendly reminder, MLS instructors and MLS support staff, we are not licensed agents. We are not allowed to give you advice on how to select your comparables, how to make adjustments, or anything like that. We are just going to show you how to create the CMA, but if you need advice on how to make those selections or those adjustments, always check with your broker. Okay, let's go ahead and do a residential quick search. I bet you didn't see that coming. All right, now we're going to enter some criteria. I see some people laughing in the chat. All right, let me uncheck the active statuses. We'll leave that one there just so we can get some variety in our results. But I'm going to select pending and closed. And to make sure that we get enough results, we're going to change this day range. And look how the day range automatically comes up for pending and closed. You can still change this. I'm going to change it 0 to 90. We're going to do 0 to 180. And then how about we add a city? We're going to do City of Grapevine. Grapevine. There it is. Now remember that property description that we did with the asterisks? The subdivision works the same way. Because the subdivisions, you know, it can come out in phases. It can be phase 1, 2, 3, phase 1A, 2B. We don't know what all the phases are. So we just want to get the main name of that subdivision and we want to add it into this criteria. So the subdivision we're going to, it's called Glade Crossing. So add an asterisk, shift in the number 8. And that's Glade, Glade, space, crossing. And add another asterisk at the end for that wildcard search. How many matches do we have? We've got 16 matches. Let's take a look at those results. All right. Now, like I said, check with your broker if you need advice on how to select your comparables. I am not going to do any type of research on this. You will do much more thorough research based on the subject property to make sure you get the correct comparable properties. All right. I'm just going to select 2 of each status. Keep it simple. We have 2 active, 2 pending, and 2 closed. All right, that is it. But take a look at the subdivision column. You see all these different phases. We have 1A and 1B. We have Glade Crossing 3 phase 1, Glade Crossing 2A and 2B. But since we used those asterisks, we got every single phase. If we did not use the asterisks, we would have only had this one individual property under Glade Crossing. All right, that is the value of the wildcard search. Now that we've selected our 6 properties, how do you generate a quick CMA? Down at the bottom where your actions are, quick CMA is the 3rd from the end. Quick CMA. All right, now this next step, very, very simple. Click on quick CMA. All right, and that's it. We're done. Our quick CMA is done. That is how easy and quick it is. It is selecting your listings and clicking on quick CMA and you are done. Now, when it comes to the quick CMA, if you need help interpreting this information, again, we're going to direct you back to your broker. But take a look at the top there. Our header is displaying on both pages. The footer is not going to display there because Netris has their own footer for the quick CMA. All right, your footer will display on any listings that you print. But take a look here. We can see the active listings were separated in their own category, the pending listings in their own category, and the closed listings in their own category. You will see all 6 listings and the averages and medians for all of them, along with some quick statistics at the bottom. What you won't see on here is your subject property. There was no point in which we could add a subject property. So that's something that you won't get on this option. But remember, we have an advanced matrix class where we will cover not just the quick CMA, but our our classic CMA and the cloud CMA, which are going to let you add your subject property, make your adjustments, and customize your CMA in a much more detailed way. So check out that advanced matrix class if you're interested in seeing that. But that is it for the quick CMA. Pretty easy, right? Let's close out of this tab. And now we're going to do our final search. We're almost done, guys. All right, I'm back to the dashboard, and we're going to start off, imaginary drum roll, we're going to residential quick. All right. One last time. Let's add just some general criteria, but this next part, we're going to focus on the map. Okay, let's remove the active statuses. I'm just going to leave this one active selected. We'll just go with that. And let's go to single family residence for our subproperty type. For the location, let's narrow it down to Dallas County. Dallas County. And then we'll do a price of $750 plus. So we're looking only at the active status. Subproperty type, single family residence, Dallas County, $750 plus. How many matches do we have? 1,263 matches. Now, the section we've been neglecting this entire time, we've gone to the results plenty of times, but we have not looked at the map at all. So that's what we're going to do next. You can click on map either from the top section or from the bottom section, just like your results. It doesn't matter which one you click on, it takes you to the same page. I do want to mention, you can switch back and forth between all three of these displays to get your listing results. So if you go to your results page and you need to narrow it down more, you can go to your map, go back to your results. Maybe you need to change the price, you can go back to your criteria. As long as you don't go back to your dashboard or any other page, you can keep switching back and forth so that you can make sure to get the results you need. Let's click on the map. We've got about 11 minutes to go. I'm going to zoom out on my browser because it is affecting the view of the map. So let me go back to 100%. See how we have a lot more space on the map there? Now, it's always going to display zoomed out, but your zoom buttons are going to be on the top right, plus and minus. You can click that plus sign and you can click and drag to rearrange or recenter the map. Or if you have a mouse with that little scroll bar on it, you can just scroll in or out to do the zoom functions. Now notice how as I zoomed in, I have these little bubbles with numbers. Each of these numbers are telling me, when I hover over it with my mouse, like this 884, that's how many listings match my current criteria, and that is the area that those listings are in. So I could zoom in and concentrate on that area if I need to, right? And as I zoom in more, it'll create smaller groupings for those listings. Let's look at the tools on the map now. I'm going to zoom out again just a little bit. The tools on your map are on the top section. These icons here. We're going to go through each of these, and I will say we have 10 minutes to go. If you have somewhere you need to be at 4 o'clock, you are free to go at 4. That is when our webinar ends. I'm going to keep on going. If there's any more questions or anything else you'd like to see at 4 o'clock, I am more than happy to keep going. And it will be on the recording that you will receive. So you can come back and catch up on anything that you missed after 4 o'clock when you get that recording, okay? So let's keep going. We're gonna start off with this clock icon, this car and clock icon. This is INRIX drive time. So this is going to allow us to enter an address and calculate a commutable time for our client. Basically, it'll create a custom shape that will guarantee that they will get to their destination within a certain time frame. So we're going to use this first by clicking on that first text box. It says enter a location to drive from, to or from. You will need the address for the property. I'm going to use a medical center so that I can kind of use it like a Google search. So we're just going to type in here Children's Medical Center. Children's Medical Center. And I'm going to add a comma and put Dallas, Texas. Usually it will be able to auto-populate with the address. I'm just going to hit the enter key on my keyboard. There it is. All right. If that doesn't work for you, just do a quick Google search in another tab and just copy and paste the address. All right. We've got our address in here. Now we have these other selections down here on the next row. Are we driving to here or from here? Select drive to here. What time do they need to arrive? So these times are going to give you 15-minute increments. Let's select 6 a.m. for this one. 6 a.m. How big of a commute are they willing to have? We can go as little as 5 minutes or as high as 90 minutes. Let's say I talked to my client and they said, I want to be able to live within 30 minutes of my office. So we're going to select 30 minutes. And if we want to get more specific, we can even say what day of the week, Monday through Sunday. We'll just leave it on Monday. Now that we've answered all of these, let's click add, that light blue button there. And let's see what happens. All right, Matrix created a custom shape. So any of these properties, we now have about 1,100 properties that fall within this shape for Dallas County. This will get them to their office within 30 minutes by 6 a.m. on a Monday. All right, 30 minutes or less. Now that is a huge coverage area, still way too many listings. So I'm going to call my customer. I'm going to say, hey, Mr. Customer, you could afford to have a shorter commute. Do you want to adjust it to 20 minutes? Let's say they said, okay, how do I change this? You see that red dot in the middle of the shape? Well, I guess not really in the middle, but that red dot in the shape there. If you hover over it, you'll get this little pop-up here. And you can change your drive time info. Go ahead and click on Change Drive Time Info. And we're going to change that 30 minutes to 20 minutes. And click Update. All right, now our map has been adjusted and we now have 798 matches. However, there are 2 people in this household and person A got their commute taken into account. Well, person B also wants their commute to be considered as well. So let's click on that car icon one more time and we're going to add person B's address. This time we'll do an actual address. Let's enter the following address. It is 1701 Kin West Parkway. All right. And if you don't know, this is in Irving, Texas. This is MetroTex headquarters. So if you want to come see us in person, if you want to take any classes at our Irving headquarters, this is the address. All right. In case you've never been there, come check out our campus. We have a beautiful members lounge. If you just need a quiet place to land in between meetings, we have snacks, we have beverages. Like, come join us and enjoy your facilities, okay? Now, with this address, we want to arrive, let's say by 8:15. Let's do 8:15. And we'll just leave it on the 15 minutes on a Monday. We'll just leave it as it is. Let's see if there is some common ground with both of these options. Let's click Add. And there's a little bit of overlap. Now that we have 2 shapes, if I hover over any of those red dots, doesn't matter which one, I have a third option. And that third option says include intersection only. Click on that. What this did is it narrowed down and only displays the options that satisfy both commute times, all right? We went from 1,100 listings to 105 listings that satisfy both parties, getting person A to their office in 20 minutes or less, person B to their office in 15 minutes or less, all right? I hope you like that one. That is my favorite feature of this map, all right? Let me zoom out here. Let me know in the chat if you like that feature, if you think that'll be useful for your clients. I feel like this day and age, commute time is a very huge priority for a lot of us. I know it is for me. All right, if I want to clear the shapes from this map, look for this little eraser icon. It'll clear all of the shapes. Now we're going to go over the other shapes on the map. Again, if you have somewhere you need to be at 4 o'clock, you are free to go, but you're welcome to stay if we do go over our time. It shouldn't be much longer here. Let's look at the next one. It's going to be that circle. It's a radius. Let me find DFW Airport. That's a good, easy place to locate. 1 second. I'm going to take a sip of water here. All right, with that radius icon, How does this work? Click on it to activate it. Notice how it's that nice bright orange color. All right, I see your thumbs up there. You like that commute. Hopefully you'll like this one too. So if you want to create a radius on your map, you're going to do a left click with your mouse. You're not going to let it go. You're going to keep holding it and you're going to drag it out. As I do this, take a look at what happens. It's going to tell me the exact mileage of the radius I'm creating. So let's say you have someone that works for an airline. They need to be within a 10-mile radius of the airport. I can create a 10-mile radius. All right, 10.04, that's close enough. I'm going to release my mouse now. And it's going to show me all the listings within that shape. That's your radius. All right. Now, let me zoom out just a little more so we can add some more shapes to this. I feel like that's a bit too much. Let me go back in here. All right. I'll just move it that way. So if I want to add more shapes, let's say they're interested in 10-mile radius, but they're not interested in living anywhere south of 183. I can add another shape and I can exclude any listings that are south of 183. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my next one, this little rectangle icon. You missed how, I missed how you cleared the map. It is this, so third one from the right, this eraser icon to clear all shapes. You can also hover over the red dot and you can delete them individually if you want to. But easier just to do that one. All right, so we're going to use the rectangle next. Same motion, it's a click and drag. So click on the rectangle and I'm just going to create a rectangle that covers that bottom portion that removes 183 and everything below. So once I click and drag, I'm going to release my mouse when I create the shape. First thing it's going to do is it's going to add any listings that are outside of the radius. But if I hover over the red dot on the rectangle, it gives me the option to include the intersection. That's what we did with the previous example, or I can exclude this shape. So click exclude the shape. And now it's going to remove all those listings from my results. All right, that's your radius and your rectangle. We're going to clear the shapes again. Again, it's 3:59, so if you've got to go, you're free to go in 1 minute. All right, let's go on to the next one here. Let's look at the polygon tool. If you need to create a custom shape, you can use a polygon tool to do that. Now this one, pay close attention to how we use the polygon. I'm going to click on it to activate it. Make sure it's highlighted in that bright orange color. We're going to do a single click this time. We're not going to do any clicking and dragging. We're just going to do a single click and release our mouse immediately. I'm going to go over here by Carrollton, single click right over 35, and I think that's George Bush. Single click. When you do that single click, you can move your mouse and you're going to get a solid line that's going to follow your mouse everywhere you go. You see how I'm going across the page? Wherever my mouse goes, that's where that line's going to go. It will stop when I click again. So I'm going to go over here by Plano. I'm going to click again, single click, and now it's going to create another line, right? So from here, I'm going to keep on clicking until I meet the point at which I started. Once I reach where I started, it's going to create the shape, and it's going to show me all the listings within that shape. All right, you can do as many lines as you need. It really just depends on what your client is looking for the specific area. Let me clear that shape again. We're going to look at our polygon, not the polygon, our freehand option. Now the freehand option is going to let you click and drag and use your mouse as a pen. So I'm going to click on that pen icon. And I'm just going to draw a little flower here just so you can see this is more of a freehand option. It's not going to give you straight lines, and I am not an artist in any way. So that's as good as we're going to get with that flower. So once you meet the point at which you started, again, it's going to filter out all the other listings and only show you what's within the shape you created. Those are the shapes on your map. All right, so now you've got your options for that. Let's just take a quick look at the very last one here, the layers. The layers are just going to show additional data on the map here. So click on the layers. First section, I'm going to collapse it so you can see there's all these other sections here. Your boundaries are just going to add a boundary for the different category. Depending on what it is, if it's your parcel or your zip code, you will need to zoom in order to see those boundaries. But let's take a look at the county. Let's use that for this example. Select county, Click on the layers to minimize it, and you're going to see Dallas County. That is the boundary for Dallas County. You can see Tarrant County over here. We've got Denton, we've got Collin, we have Rockwall, all the counties. I can keep zooming out and you can see all the counties and all the different areas that they're in. Those are your boundaries. I'm zooming in again. Let me go to these layers. I'm going to uncheck the county, but look, you can do school districts, neighborhoods, you have the city, the zip code, all these options for your boundaries. It'll always tell you up at the top if you need to zoom in more. Let me unclick boundaries, and we're going to take a look at MLS status. Let's say you're looking at properties with your client and they're not interested in that property, but they're interested in the neighborhood. You can do a quick search on the map. Let's see, hopefully I zoomed in close enough. And you can select the other options here. I'm just going to select all of them so that we can make sure we get results on the map. But you can select these. You see these little icons. These are going to appear on the map, and you'll be able to see, okay, looks like there are some other listings. Maybe they don't meet your criteria, but there are other listings in the MLS. You can see those other listings here. All right, and then you can click on the parcel to see more detail about it. You can go into the listing and see the details about each property. All right, those are your statuses. If you want to uncheck all of those, on the bottom right, you have a clear all option. Let's minimize the statuses. You can do the same thing with tax data. You have tax sales and non-MLS sales. It's just going to show you that little red icon. This means that it was a sale that took place outside of our MLS, so we can still see it because of the public record information. All right, I'm going to uncheck these ones. It really just depends on the area if you're going to find anything like that. You also have parcel characteristics here. If you want to see the number of bedrooms and bathrooms in each property, you can get a quick view of those on here. You also have owner name. It'll display the last name of the owner. You can do the address and get that street number. All right, just some details you can add to the map. Then we have our trends. I need to zoom out a lot for this one, so I'm going to zoom out first. And this is going to be the last one we'll talk about here. So for the trends, you can see different kinds of data on here, like the median sales price, sales activity, number of properties in foreclosure. I'm going to select the sales activity one. It's going to display kind of like a heat map. You can determine if you'd like it to display by zip code or by neighborhood. And you can also narrow it down by single family residence, condo, or both. I'm going to select SFR for single family residence. And this is telling us what areas had the highest number of sales. Your legend is down here below. So anything in that red, orange, or yellow category, they have the highest number of sales. So maybe I want to go look at this area over here by Princeton on the top right in red. If I want to know the actual number of sales that took place and more details about this, I can hit the control key or the command key on my keyboard and click on that shape. I'll get this little pop-up here, and it's going to tell me the value, how many sales took place. 308 individual sales of single-family residences in this zip code. When was this information updated? Well, it's updated on a rolling 3-month period, so it was 308 within the last 3 months as of March 2025. So first quarter of 2025, 308 sales took place in that zip code for the single-family residence category. All right. This information is also available on Realist Tax. All of those layers are on Realist Tax. One thing I will say, these points of interest, I'm going to be completely transparent. I have no idea when the last time was these were updated in Matrix. They are not the most up-to-date options. You can use them just to get a general idea of some things to do, but I would highly recommend checking out Realist Tax, because Realist Tax has the public record information. It's updated on a regular basis. So they're going to have the most up-to-date information when it comes to points of interest. You also have RPR, which is Realtors Property Resource. That is a really great resource for getting any information on points of interest. They have way more detailed information. You can even create reports around that for neighborhoods and things like that. So with that, that is a wrap on our class, everybody.